How much do you invest each year on behalf of how many of your members?
We manage a $500 billion portfolio on behalf of our 2.2 million members and beneficiaries.
And you've highlighted your principal responsibility is return for those beneficiaries, right?
Correct. Everything that we do every day is about generating returns to pay benefits.
And you've worked there 20 years. You've been the principal deputy since 2020, right?
I was named the Deputy Chief Investment Officer in August of 2020, or I'm sorry, in April of 2020.
Okay, great. And so I think there's some parallels between what's going on with ESG and DEI. You don't deny that CalPERS has a DEI agenda, right?
CalPERS is all about generating returns to pay benefits, and every topic that we approach is through that lens.
Well, does DEI improve the returns to your investors?
I think part of good governance of a company is having diverse perspectives brought to bear as they manage that company, and I feel strongly about that for the investment team that I lead also. We want diverse perspectives.
And what is the evidence that you rely on for the belief that the DEI agenda will produce better returns? Is there any study, report, analysis?
You know, as an investor, I read research reports constantly. I probably read 5, 6, 8 of them a day. So over the course of my career, that's probably been thousands.
I know, I'm just wondering, is there one that kind of sticks out in your mind? You can say, Congressman, I'm here to do good by these 2.2 million beneficiaries, and my embrace of DEI, this is what I can point to as the evidence that's helping them.
Every data-based study can tell lots of different things, and every data works that way. That's the way investing works. And remember that when we're focused on investing, we're focused on how we...
Mr. Bienvenu, you can either cite a study or you can't. You can't, right? Okay.
In the thousands of studies that I
just name one. Okay, well, here's what. I found a study that actually CalPERS did. You guys did this study. It's entitled Emerging Diverse Manager Data Report. And I'm citing from the I'm citing from the 6th page of report where it says, since inception, current diverse managers generally underperformed non-diverse managers in the asset class in the policy benchmark. Are you familiar with this report?
Can I see a copy of that study, please?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the Emerging Diverse Manager Report published by CalPERS.
Without objection.
I'm not able to show it to you now, but you don't have any basis to disagree with the agency you've been a part of leading, saying that the DEI hires aren't doing as well as the non-DEI hires.
As I say, when we think about diversity, we think about diverse perspectives being brought to bear on investment decisions.
Right, but okay, so those are two different things, Mr. Bienvenu, because on one hand, there's provide returns for my investors, and what your own data says is that your DEI hires underperform there. And then on the other hand, you say, well, all these diverse perspectives are really important. But I worry about the market manipulation and the bullying, because as I review what CalPERS has put out under its own investment guidelines, you brag about the fact that you voted against 768 directors at the companies you invest in most recently, and then in the prior year, you'd only voted against 133 directors. So is CalPERS voting against people as directors for companies based on their skin color?
We take up every vote independently based on the merits of the vote itself.
Right, but do you ever consider like someone's skin color? Because it's pretty immutable. People don't choose to be white or black or Asian. They just are.
We choose based on what will make the best oversight.
You're under oath here, Mr. Bienvenu. Can you deny under oath that CalPERS is voting against directors based on the color of their skin?
I can tell you we make every vote based on what will make that the best board for oversight of that company.
Right, but the best board is actually not doing so well. So, Mr. Chairman, let's look at the scorecard. In the state of Florida, where we aren't pushing ESG and DEI, the Florida retirement system is netting a 7.5% notch for the fiscal year. May I enter that into the record?
Without objection.
And CalPERS reports only 5.8% for 2022 to 2023. Can I enter that into the record as well?
Without objection.
So you're not performing as well. Your own data says that your DEI hires aren't performing as well, and you were there for 20 years, and you applied twice for the chief investment position, and you were passed over for that position twice, and you said you weren't going to apply for it the third time because you'd been passed over twice, and I guess they've hired an immigrant to do that job instead. Do you think that maybe you were passed over for some of these DEI reasons?
CalPERS hiring decisions is their own hiring decisions, and I'm not really a part of that, candidly.
Clearly you aren't, and I think we all know why. I yield back.
What purpose does the gentlelady from Wyoming seek recognition?
I just ask for unanimous consent to submit 2 articles into the record. The moral high ground, the left's so-called morally superior policies kill millions and impoverish billions, and a Hawaii 5 power outages in paradise, how Hawaii's mandated energy transition set the table for rolling blackouts.
Without objection, the chair now recognizes the ranking member of the full committee, Mr. Nadler, for 5 minutes.
I thank the chair. Mr. Chairman, everything the American people need to know about today's hearing took place at a July 2022 meeting of the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, the corporate group that arranges meetings between Republican state legislators and lobbyists to push extreme right-wing policies in all 50 states. It has been reported that this meeting featured a presentation from the Texas Public Policy Foundation, or TTPF, a climate-denying activist group that has received funding from fossil fuel companies and the Koch brothers network. The TPPF representative told the conference that his group was working with a committee of the Texas State Legislature to subpoena a, quote, truckload of documents from financial institutions involved in sustainable investment initiatives. Their goal was to find evidence that the companies had violated the antitrust laws. The Republican majority in this committee answered the call and followed the exact same playbook in its own investigation of sustainable investment. 1, accuse businesses of antitrust violations. 2, subpoena them for as many documents as possible. And 3, desperately search for facts to support a predetermined conclusion. The majority has spent 18 months bullying more than a dozen parties over their investment practices. These include financial institutions, both large and small, nonprofits, and the public pension fund. They've received more than 2.5 million pages of documents and grilled witnesses for over 20 hours. And what has been the result? Not only does all this evidence fail to show an antitrust violation, it shows just how absurd the majority's theories are. Here are the facts. First, participants in sustainable investment initiatives are independent. They do not coordinate their activities. Second, these sustainable investment initiatives do not involve price fixing, boycotts, or divestment at all. Third, these initiatives are good for competition. Unlike the Republicans, businesses and investors recognize that climate change is real and they need to plan for it. Sustainable investing is good for companies. Given these facts, no serious antitrust enforcer would bring a case against these investment initiatives. But that's not what this investigation is really about. It's really about a shadow campaign by the far right and their allies in the oil and gas industry to inject their crusade against sensible climate policy into corporate boardrooms. Multiple independent studies have shown that politically motivated restrictions on investment raise borrowing costs for local governments and saddle taxpayers with unnecessary fees. These misguided policies are also projected to reduce returns for state pension funds, threatening the retirement savings of teachers, firefighters, and other dedicated public servants. The majority would undoubtedly impose these same policies on the whole nation if they ever got the chance, passing on the cost to the American people. For now, they are content to abuse the committee's oversight powers on a shameful partisan fishing expedition, knowing that the investigation will scare businesses and investors away from these lawful and pro-competitive initiatives. For the sake of our economy and our climate, we should all hope that they do not succeed. I thank our witnesses for appearing at today's hearing, and I regret that they have had their reputations dragged through the mud by the majority's entirely unfounded accusations. Attorney General Ellison, I also want to welcome you back to the Judiciary Committee, and I want to ask you, in your view, can dark money groups making baseless antitrust allegations have a chilling effect on legitimate business and investment activity?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. In fact, I think that is the effect of this proceeding today, to intimidate companies that are trying to improve returns, reduce risk from doing so in favor of a specific industry that clearly has come together to try to weaponize Congress in order to help lock America into their product and to try to stifle innovation in new other forms of energy that are more amenable to sustainability.
Thank you. This coordinated dark money campaign against responsible investment has seen great success in convincing state legislatures to pass laws injecting politics into investment decisions. In the 2023 legislative season alone, at least 14 states approved new limits on responsible investment. Mr. Ellison, what effect would state policies blacklisting firms from state businesses over their climate commitments have on the citizens of your state?
Well, if I understand your question, Mr. Chairman, I can tell you that at the SBI, we're trying to have more options, more choice, more ways to make good decisions for the beneficiaries of our pension fund. And any kind of promotion of ideas that would restrict us from considering what's in the best interest of the people who benefit from our public pension fund would be adverse to the best interest of the people in our state.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two UC requests. The majority here seems to be concerned about a cartel. The Biden FTC actually found evidence of a cartel, but in oil and gas. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a joint letter from Democratic members of this subcommittee urging the DOJ to investigate oil and gas collusion after the FTC found evidence of their price-fixing schemes. If the Republicans are so concerned about collusion here, which we have shown is not apparent, why aren't they sending letters about the supposed collusion to our antitrust enforcers or state AGs?
Without
And,
objection.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a McKinsey Diversity Matters report, which says that companies committed to diversity show, quote, a 39% increased likelihood of outperformance for those in the top quartile of ethnic representation versus the bottom quartile. The penalties for low diversity on executive teams are also intensifying. Companies with representation of women exceeding 30% and thus in the top quartile are significantly more likely to financially outperform those with 30% or fewer, unquote. I ask unanimous consent.
Without objection.
I thank you. I yield back.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ellison, you've opined that you see no antitrust violation here.